Welcome to Double Dipping, the show that brings back some of my iconic podcast guests over the years for a quick catch-up and a bite of some of their favourite food. Today I'm joined by the UK's most prolific celebrity photographer, Richard Young. Celebrating 50 years in the business this year, Richard has captured the best of the best. From touring with Freddie Mercury to shooting Mariah Carey in a swimming pool, from covering a decade of Oscars parties to capturing everyone from Elizabeth Taylor, Kate Moss, the Rolling Stones and Madonna, Richard has literally worked with the who's who of celebrity. He also just so happens to be my wonderful father, and I could not be more proud. Dad, welcome to Double Dipping.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to double dip with you.
How do you feel about double dipping?
Oh, wonderful. Double dipping has always been something I really always enjoyed, because if there's a plate of food on the table and you're able to have access to doing a double dip, then do it.
Yeah.
And especially with kind of Chinese food, when you've got roast duck and everything, and you want that lovely sweet sauce, whatever it's called, and you want to double...
Hoisin.
You double dip it.
To kind of put everything into context, you are now the first guest on Double Dipping, and you were the first guest on the podcast when I started 5 years ago.
Right.
We were sat at...
Did I double dip then?
You've been double dipping your whole life. That's where I get it from, to be honest. But you and I were sat at the kitchen table at the old house. This is how long this... In North Kensington,
Wow.
W10. And I had no idea what I was doing. I put 2 mics on a table. I said to you, give me your afternoon. Let's see what's going to happen. I'm going to start a podcast. And look where we are 5 years later. So
Yes.
I brought with me, courtesy of the wonderful people at B Bagel, they have supplied us with your favourite food of all
Thank you
time.
very much, B Bagel, for giving me a smoked salmon bagel with cream cheese. Well, maybe not with cream cheese.
I think there is going to be some cream
And
cheese.
those are the crispy bagel things.
We've got smoked salmon bagels.
Oh, that's me. And I just say to camera, I've been smoking smoked salmon.
Keep it PG.
I've been eating smoked salmon bagels since I was about 5 years old. And my mum used to buy the smoked salmon from this wonderful place in Wentworth Street in the East End of London called Mossy Marks. And I would go with her, and I'd be holding her hand, and the old boy in there would slice the smoked salmon so thin that it was transparent. It was quite amazing. And then you would have to go outside when you're leaving, because there was this other man sitting there, lovely man, with his big sack of bagels. I mean, they were beautiful bagels, and not too bready and everything, but they were really edible, and they were fantastic. So I'm going to look at this bagel now.
So I feel like there's quite a big debate here when it comes to the bagels and fillings. Obviously,
Many people doing them now.
Yeah, but the thing is, you've got the classic smoked salmon on a poppy seed bagel.
Oh, yes.
Just show that up to the camera so everyone
And
can
this
see
is a
that.
poppy seed bagel on with smoked salmon and cream cheese.
I've got a salt beef bagel. Now, really, I know you have a problem with having salt beef on a bagel. It shouldn't really traditionally be.
No, it should be on rye bread.
Yeah. But I got to say, B Bagel do a very good salt beef. I'm going to do a little sort of...
Where are B Bagel?
Look at that. Lots of healthy amounts of salt beef in there. Yum, yum, yum. So you asked where B Bagel are. They've got locations around London, but one of them is on Fulham Road, opposite the Chelsea and Westminster Hospital.
Oh, yeah.
You know that was the first meal I had after I gave birth to Alfie last year.
Fantastic. Well, that's more reason why we should be doing this.
How is it?
Terrific. I'm not a big fan of mixing the cream cheese with the salmon.
You're quite a purist, aren't you?
Yeah.
Is that quite old school, just to have smoked salmon without any cream cheese?
Yeah.
Is that what you were eating back in the day?
The cream cheese never came into it.
But just back to what you were saying, because you spoke a lot about this in the original episode about Mossy Marks. He's cutting this salmon really thin. Why is that thinness so important, do you think?
I think it was much more tastier being thinner. It's a good bagel.
It is a very good bagel. Do you know what I like? It's got a good chewiness to it. The sign of a good bagel is when you bite into it, you get your teeth marks in it. You know?
Yeah.
It's good. It's chewy. I like it. But I think these days, obviously bagels, I think have kind of become back in fashion, particularly in London.
Yeah.
There's so many different flavors and stuff. What do you like on your bagel? You like poppy seeds? You like
No,
onion? What do you
onion.
like?
I like
You like
onion.
onion. Okay. I like an everything bagel. Do you know what an everything bagel is?
No.
It's this one when you've got everything. You've got poppy seeds, sesame seeds, onion, salt, all sorts.
They also do garlic ones.
Oh, do they? Oh, nice.
When I lived in New York City back in the early 70s, I went to this deli which was on the corner. And I was only been there a few days. And I said to the guy behind the counter, "Can I have a bagel with smoked salmon and with some smoked salmon?" And he looked at me like, "What's a bagel?" I said, "Bagel, that." He said, "No, that's bagel, man." I went, "Oh, can I have a bagel then?"
Because bagel is obviously it is the proper term and way to say a bagel, right?
Yeah, but now everybody says bagel.
When we had our chat 5 years ago, you were also really reflective on growing up in Hackney, Stamford Hill to be precise. Definitely not the Hackney that we know now. But you were talking a lot about your mum's food. You grew up in a Jewish household. She was making gefilte fish balls. She was making potato latkes.
Yeah.
Kind of, looking back on reflection, even another 5 years now, does that food still kind of provide a lot of nostalgia for you? Like, do you have good memories of the food in those days?
But it wasn't necessarily my mother's.
Well, you had a bit of a mixed response. Some of
Yeah.
the food wasn't so great, right?
No, about 90% of it. Sorry, Mum. As much as I love you and miss you, but her food wasn't the greatest. Her greatest thing. Her greatest thing was how she loved her children and how she brought us all up to be respectful and nice. My very best food experience of being a 12-year-old, I think, was starting to go to the dances around Stamford Hill in the synagogue halls on a Sunday night, listening for the very first time people like Paul Anka, the Everly Brothers, Chuck Berry, people like that, and dancing and everything. But on the way home, I would stop off in Stamford Hill, and there was an E&A bar which was full of. It was a black and white. Everything was black and white in there. All the ceramics, everything was black and white in there. But they did the best potato latkes, and they were about six pence each or something. And I bought two. So when I get on the trolley bus, if no one knows what a trolley bus is, too bad. I'm showing my age now.
I don't know what a trolley bus is.
A trolley bus from Stamford Hill down to Stoke Newington, where my mum and dad lived, was the best meal I had ever. Eating my two potato latkes on the bus.
A little bit of grease around the edges,
the grease
crispy on the outside.
Oh, the grease was amazing.
Sort of touching actually on something you just said a second ago, I think there is a really lovely connection between food and your career. Although you were enticed into it by saying there was going to be nice canapés along the way, all jokes aside, canapés play a huge role, not only in your work, but also restaurants played a huge role. It's kind of where your most iconic shots have been at restaurants.
I kind of thought about it very deeply at the very, very beginning of my career, that if I'm going to stand around outside restaurants, don't be a schmo, go and stand inside, or sit by the bar or something, like where Langan's was concerned, in the early days of Langan's. But my relationship with Langan's in the early days was a bit more had a bit more depth than just being a photographer at Langan's photographing everywhere. Because Bailey and all the other guys from Olympus and everything used it as a kind of like office in the back of the bar and everything to talk about the next issue of Ritz magazine or whatever, because they didn't have an office at the time for the first 6 or 8 months.
So Langan's was the unofficial office?
Yes, because Olympus was somewhat sponsoring it and financing it, or something like that. Anyway, So I used to go to Langham's every night, not realizing what a great hunting ground that was going to be for photography. And of course, the pinnacle of one night changed everything where Langham was concerned, which was pretty much Peter Langham's fault as much as anybody else's. And there was a couple sitting in the front window having a kind of very private dinner. The least that they expected was me to come up with my Leica camera and take a picture of them, which caused total mayhem in the restaurant. The table got upturned, I got chased out, and as I'm running out the front door, Peter Langham turns to me and said, "Don't worry, come back tomorrow night."
Who was it?
I think it was Anna Ford with Mark Boxer, who was an editor of Tatler or somebody like that. It created a whole situation with Langham's, which they quite enjoyed because it threw the spotlight on the actual restaurant and that whole world of restaurants. And there was only, and at that time, there wasn't that many where celebrities went to.
In the 70s, there were really a small handful of kind of your top restaurants or your sort of celebrity haunts, so to speak. You know, obviously Langhams being one of them. There was San Lorenzo. Was that around the same time or was it after? It was around the same time.
The same time.
Yeah.
San Lorenzo even came long before Langham's. I mean, San Lorenzo, I first went to San Lorenzo with a French girlfriend I had at the time called Marie Claire. And she took me there because she was the hairdresser for Mara, who owned the restaurant. And I remember it was only a small room at the time, and there was a tree going right through it at the back,
which was still there till the end.
Which is still there now today.
Yeah.
But the thing was, it was only a small square room, and I sat there with Marie Claire having my dinner. And I looked to my right to a corner, which was quite a dark corner, and all I saw was John Lennon and Yoko Ono sitting there. And it was 1968, and I'm going, oh my God! I mean, I wasn't even a photographer there. I was working in a menswear shop in Kings Road. That's how I met Marie Claire, so. But I always said that once I saw John Lennon and Yoko Ono sitting there, I said, I'm always coming back here. And I did.
But I know that you've spoken a lot about what the photo that I'm about to bring up now, but it is important to talk about because it's the most iconic in the sense that it kick-started your career. But the photograph that you took of Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton at the Dorchester in 1974, kind of changed your life in more ways than one.
Yeah.
Because obviously this is a food-related platform, I think it's important for me to ask because there is not just the shot of the two of them kissing on the dance floor, but the other famous shot from that night is the blowing out of the candles it was Richard's birthday, right?
Yes, 50th.
At his 50th birthday. Did you get to have a look at the cake?
No, and I was a bit disappointed because I wanted a slice of it.
What flavour do you reckon it was?
Pardon?
What flavour do you reckon it was?
I think there was chocolate involved somewhere.
So we know that Elizabeth Taylor liked chocolate cake.
Yeah. I think there was chocolate involved somewhere. But it was a big oblong cake with 50 candles around it, and it came in on a very beautiful large silver trolley by about 3 different Major D's. And they planked it in front of the main table, and they came out from behind the table and started blowing out all the candles, you know. And it looked delicious, and but I never got. No, she didn't invite me to come and sit down and have a piece of it.
Well, no, because she told you to F off.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, exactly. There's the door. See you later.
And then, sorry, on the conversation of the canapés, I think you more than anyone has probably seen the evolution of canapés over the past 50 years, right?
Well, if there was a chicken vol au vent with peanuts stew, you know you're at a poor do. I mean, you knew you hit rock bottom. But if you went there and you could see smoked salmon, little canapés, or if there was anything a bit more kind of upmarket there, that was fantastic. But there was one Christmas party I went to at Cartier in Bond Street, and I could see there was a big kind of on the first floor where the party was, there was a big commotion going on around a big table up there with these 2 big urns and everything. And I could see there was a lot of kind of that going on? And I couldn't figure out what it was. I mean, it's the first time that I've been exposed to such a wonderful surprise when I eventually got to be near that, close to that table. And it was a big Christmas party for Cartier. And I went close and I looked in, I saw all this caviar.
Oh,
I went, oh
God.
my God, I've never been to a party with this much caviar. So I got hold of the spoon and I went plonk on my plate. I mean, it was like 300 pounds worth of caviar sitting on my plate with some crispy bread or something. And I walked away really quickly because I didn't want anybody to take it away from me. And I went to a corner and just ate the whole lot. Oh, it was delicious. And I went back for a double dip.
I bet you, there we go. I knew it would come out.
I went for a double dip.
Darling,
because
when it comes to caviar, you can double dip as much
Yeah.
as you want to, quite frankly.
I like the caviar.
What's the most important bagel you've ever had?
I think the most important bagel I've ever had was 37 years ago. You were being born that day, and I was sitting in the waiting room at Weddington Hospital, and suddenly I'm in the midst of having my lunch, because it was lunchtime, and I was eating a smoked salmon bagel from Panzer's. And what happens? I hear this screaming, and you have come into the world at the same time I've taken my second bite of my smoked salmon bagel, onion bagel, with cream cheese, and I'm going, oh my God. And I had to rush in and help Mum and hold her hand, and this little head popped out, and there was Hannah Young. Thank you, Hannah.
Did you ever get to finish the bagel?
No, I didn't.
Oh, I'm well, here's your one today.
Yeah, I made up for it over the years on various occasions.
We're actually talking at during awards season, and I'm just thinking, actually, at the top of my head now, I mentioned in the intro, you shot a decade of Oscars parties.
Yes.
The Vanity Fair Oscar party. What's the food like at the Vanity Fair Oscar party?
When Graydon Carter was editor, the 4 o'clock till 7 or 8 o'clock part was his screening party.
That's at
inside Morton's.
That's 4 in the afternoon.
Yes. That's when dinner was served, and a proper sit-down dinner with his 200 or 250 favourite people sat down there for dinner, and I was just allowed to move. I had total access for 10 years. I just moved around inside the party, doing what I do. And then the party will open up in the back, which was, there was an architect that designed the whole dance floor and the whole bar areas, which was beautiful. Vanity Fair was beautiful. They knew exactly what they were doing. But my favorite part was out the backyard with the police and the security having our hamburgers, what's they called?
Did they get in and out?
In and out burger. They had 2 In and Out burger trucks out the back door, and they will give you your burger, right, and with your chips. I think I had one. I think 1 year I was so hungry. I think I had 3 burgers. Because I was there from 3 o'clock in the afternoon till 4 o'clock in the morning.
It's a long day.
Yeah, it's a long night. Yeah, a long night, and I did it for 10 years.
Working for so many years in the photography industry, I can imagine as well the connection with restaurants is super strong, as we've just been talking about.
Yeah.
You get to know and become friends with a lot of restaurateurs, and some who actually have probably been in the business nearly as long as you've been in the business.
Yeah.
I mean, do you have any sort of close friends who are restaurateurs who are still going today?
Restaurateurs have been very, very important to me, because they were like the stepping stone to get into the restaurant and get the pictures you want. There were people like Jeremy King and Chris Corbin from the Caprice, and they also worked at Langham's. They also worked at Joe Allen's, and these are all various places. But in the early mid-70s that I was they're part of my network.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a network of restaurants that I would go to, including Harry's Bar, including standing outside Annabelle's, which basically was a dinner place.
And remember, sorry, this is the old Annabelle's. It's the Annabelle's that was you walked down the stairs and it was in the basement. Yeah, it was next door to the Annabelle's that people know now.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But you had to get friendly with them, because in the same way that you had to get friendly with drivers, limousine drivers, you had to get friendly with security, especially security. And I made a lot of friends with the security guys, who some are still around today. They come up to me like they did the other night, Hey, Richard, it's so nice to see you. It's so great that you're here. And the younger guys, the younger security guys, look and they see that their bosses are talking to me, with great affection. And it comes in very useful.
Absolutely. Speaking of restaurants, where are some of your favourite places to eat?
I love Jeremy King's new place called The Park, which is on Bayswater Road on the junction of Queensway. And I love it there. And they do a very nice steak tartare, which I really enjoy with a bit of Tabasco, which is great. They do a lovely clam chowder with lots of seafood, lots of little cockles and mussels and things in it, which are fabulous because it reminds me of America.
What is your desert island meal?
It would surprise you immensely what it is. I mean,
Actually, I think you should actually show this to camera. This is the only answer that you have prepped, right? You
Yeah.
actually printed it out.
yeah, big, so I'll be able to see it. Then I put my glasses on. This is my desert island meal. Would be a large tin of imperial caviar, and then I would have. Now, are you ready? This is my desert island hotline meal: 2 fried eggs, low sugar baked beans, maple streaky bacon washed down by a large glass of San Pellegrino fizzy water, which I drink like it's going out of fashion.
I mean, that is a really strong meal. You've got your protein in there.
Yeah.
You've got,
I love eggs.
Yeah.
I love streaky bacon, right? I don't like fatty bacon. I love baked beans, especially the low sugar ones, right? And I might throw a pork sausage in,
Oh, why not?
because they're kosher.
Yeah, of course. Kosher pork.
A kosher pork sausage.
And final question, if you could have dinner with one person, dead or alive, who would it be?
I like to bring back Leonard Cohen because I got on so well with him. We had a lovely, lovely conversation in 1968 in Kings Road, and we took me out for coffee for an hour because I had to wait for his trousers to be shortened, and which I sold in black gabardine, and I like to sit with him because we were talking about our mother and father. We're talking about both our mothers, and he was going through a little bit of a problem with his, and I was definitely going through a problem with mine.
Thank you so much for double dipping with me. Thank you again to B Bagel for
Yes,
supplying
thank you, B Bagel.
some elite bagels. And listen, I hope we can do this in another 5 years.
Please God,
Love you.
I love you.